everyone, and welcome into the preview show presented by FedEx. I'm your host, Jonathan Merryman, here with Marty Snider of NBC Sports. Marty, before we get into it, Kyle Busch gets win number 199 across all three National Series. Here's what he had to say after Sunday's race about his legacy.
It's not for me to worry about. It's for everybody else to discuss and talk about and argue over and debate, you know. But for myself and the career that I've had, I've been fortunate to be with a lot of great people and a lot of great sponsors, and those that stick around me, like Joe Gibbs and M&M's and Skittles and Snickers and everybody. Interstate Batteries, that's always been behind me, is what it's all about for me, and that keeps me going each and every weekend. And to work with my guys and to take them to victory lane is what it's all about.
Kyle, very successful, obviously very humble after that win Sunday.
Well, I think obviously when he gets close to 200, everybody's going to bring that up. They're going to bring up Richard Petty. But I agree with what Kyle said. It's not really his spot to determine where that puts him in terms of history. But obviously 200 wins across all three National Touring Series, a huge accomplishment for Kyle Busch when it does happen. And he'll get there. I mean, listen, he's 33 years old. And for him to get 200 wins across all three National Touring Series, it's amazing what he's done. And he's very humble in the way he's approaching it. He doesn't even like to top it. He didn't like to talk about it. So he would love to get this 200th win, move on, get some more Cup wins, and then see where that stacks it up at the end of the day.
All right, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Auto Club. Truex, the winner there last year, but this is Kyle Larson's track. He's 2 Mile Kyle for a reason. So, you know, let's talk about Truex. He's had consistent finishes. I think the worst finish he's had is a 6th place finish over the past couple of weeks. So what does the 19 team have to do to close out?
Second in 2 of the last 3 weeks. You know, I talked to Martin earlier this week, and he told me, listen, the thing that we're really missing is we're showing up on Fridays and we're off. He said, I don't understand what's going on, but Fridays have been a struggle for the 19 team so far this year since they moved over to Joe Gibbs Racing. But on Sundays, they've been fantastic. But as Martin explained to me, we're just kind of getting out of a hole all weekend long, and that's what we've got to get better at. We've got to get better at Fridays, showing up closer to everybody else, being closer in race trim. It's really hurt them all the way to Sunday, and they're having to get out of that hole all weekend long.
Another driver in a little bit of a rut, you could say. I mean, he's been running well, a lot of 2nd place finishes. Kyle Larson, we talked about him. Is this the track that Kyle Larson can kind of break the bad luck of last year?
Well, if there is a racetrack where Kyle Larson can break the streak, if you will, and get on the right side of things, it's certainly Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, because he loves that high line. It's a low grip racetrack. And what I really like about what's going on at Chip Ganassi Racing is the fact that Kyle Larson has been made better by Kurt Busch coming over. I mean, you look at what they've done. You look at Jeff Curtis, the engineers come over from the 78 team last year. They've really helped Chip Ganassi Racing overall. And I think Kurt Busch is going to help Kyle Larson be better this year, but I like Kyle Larson this weekend a lot.
Let's talk about Stewart-Haas Racing and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people left scratching their heads because we assume he's going to go to ISM and dominate. That didn't happen. Too early to be hitting the panic button if you're a Kevin Harvick fan?
If you watch the preview show, I told you last week, they may not be the car to beat there, and they weren't the car to beat this past weekend. I don't think there's time to worry at all for Stewart-Haas Racing. I think they're going to be fine. They just feel like that during the race, they're not doing a good job of keeping up with the racetrack, and that's what they've got to get better at. From what I understand, this package is taking really big swings in terms of what you have to do on pit road and adjustments, and they are used to doing small adjustments. You've got to make big changes and take big chances during the race, and that's where I think Kevin Harvick and his team have to get a little bit better. But Stewart-Haas Racing will be fine, folks. Don't worry about it.
Qualifying. It has been hot.
Interesting.
Interesting. So, I mean, I think, you know, qualifying is super important this year just due to the way these cars race. How big of an issue is it for these teams who haven't quite figured that out yet? How's that biting them on Sunday?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to qualify well. And in the same sentence, I go to what Team Penske has done. And they haven't qualified well in the first couple of races that they won. But I think this weekend, it's going to be very interesting because Fontana is a place where you can draft, and it's really a big help. So we'll see if teammates want to team up. They want to draft each other, help each other out in qualifying. I think that could be an interesting factor on Friday. But yeah, qualifying has been crazy this year. Obviously, we saw it happen at Phoenix. A lot of tempers, and it's been very interesting how it's all played out this year.
All right, who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Kyle Larson this weekend. I mean, to me, this racetrack is perfect for him. And I think as long as he can keep it off the wall, that's going to be the biggest key, completing all the laps for Kyle Larson. If he can do that, he'll win the race on Sunday.
All right, I'm going to circle back here to Kurt Busch. I think Uncle Kurt gets it done and shows up nephew Kyle Larson this week. And I just think the Ganassi cars, they have a knack at those racetracks. I think, like you said, Kurt's added a lot to that team. I think it pays off for Kurt first.
This is the first time ever for a sweep for Ganassi in the picks?
Maybe.
Might be.
Absolutely.
How about that?
All right, you can catch the race this weekend from Auto Club Speedway. It's the Auto Club 400, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time this Sunday on Fox. Marty, appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you watching. Next week, we'll see you before we head to Martinsville.